was a time when Google launched a program that felt like sort of a case study. All of you might remember this as the Nexus. It first began as a showcase of hardware and software with the Nexus 1, which was my first ever Android phone, which later evolved, stretching the boundaries of design offerings from Samsung, and later took a step back and defined what a flagship killer concept should be, and which companies like OnePlus are famous for today. You'd think that that formula was successful enough, but no. It was shelved, and in return the company went back to its roots. And see, the Pixel was a different animal. It was all about a premium phone with a great camera and a price to match. This was more a product to compete with the Galaxies and the iPhones and didn't necessarily succeed in the process. The Pixel 3 was truly a great camera with a mediocre phone, and as a result, it didn't sell well at all. In the aftermath, usually companies will just drop the price tag of the failed product and try to sell it aggressively, but not Google. Instead, we got this. This is the Google Pixel 3a, a far less expensive iteration of that failed product that's surprisingly far better than I expected. I'm Jaime Rivera with Pocket Now, and let me tell you more about it. In the title of this video, I called this almost everything that you need, and true, I know that's a bold statement, needs vary, but one of the things that I've learned is that most people are just looking for a good phone with good battery life and great photos, and you'd be shocked at how much this phone nails the essentials for just $399. Visually, it looks a lot like the Pixel 3. I mean, it even feels like a Pixel 3, but trust me, it's not, and by a significant margin. Somehow Google managed to make the polycarbonate finish feel like if it were glass, but lighter. I'm glad Google gave me the option to pick my unit size and color, as after months with the Pixel 3 XL, I really wanted a palette cleanser, and this purplish color is awesome. It almost looks like bleached white that only grabs the purplish tone depending on the angle that you're looking at it. It takes me back to the times when all phones were polycarbonate and didn't feel like a fragile thing you could break. The main advantage to that polycarbonate is that it handles fingerprints better, and the dents are far less noticeable if you drop this phone. Now, obviously, corners had to be cut for this phone to be less expensive, starting with the fact that there is no water resistance here. And at the front, we have Dragon Trail glass, which I'm not going to call less quality than Gorilla Glass, we just don't know much about it. Under the glass, we have a 5.6-inch 1080p Plus OLED at 18.5:9 aspect ratio and a sad 75% screen-to-body ratio. Though, don't worry, the always-on display that we praise on the Pixel 3 is here. Those of you that were looking for a bezel-less display, this is not your phone. But in Google's defense, it's actually not a bad display at all. It's not the brightest, but it gets the job done. It has a good 441 pixels per inch, and colors are actually really good for its price point. Now, what isn't common on this price range is stereo speakers, and believe it or not, there are here, and they actually sound really good. You'd be shocked, but content consumption on this phone is actually not bad. We even have a headphone jack, though that is easy to find in this price range. Now, other corners cut are internal, but this is actually a good time to make a comparison with an iPhone, because since Apple owns the software, usually they don't need great internals for their phones, and their iPhones perform great. Same case here. Android is Google software, and it shines in the Pixel 3a, even with the Qualcomm Snapdragon 670, 4 gigs of RAM, and 64 gigs of storage. We have a 3000 mAh battery that supports a fast 18-watt charger that comes in the box, and, well, that's about it. Still, again, Google is more a software company than it is a hardware company, and I think the biggest story about the Pixel 3a is the software experience and the perks you get if you grab a Google phone. One of the major advantages is that you get the latest version of Android before any other smartphone. You also get the Pixel Launcher, which is one of my favorites, though you will notice some minor differences with the Pixel 3, like the lack of the Live Earth wallpapers that I love. And you also won't get unlimited storage on Google Photos in full resolution, though you can still pick for the optimized version and you'll be fine. Now, love it or hate it, the Pixel Pill user interface is here. I noticed Google has even brought the haptics to interact with the app launcher, and yes, you can squeeze the Pixel to launch the Google Assistant as well. Now, one of the main reasons why the Pixel 3 was not one of my favorite devices was because even if it was a showcase of software, it didn't really perform well on that phone. In the case of the Pixel 3a, obviously you can't really ask a mid-ranger to do great things, but software actually performs just as well as on the Pixel 3, meaning it performs okay. I'm not saying that it's faster than the Pixel 3 or in any way better, but it's not the opposite either. You can multitask between applications or launch the app tray or launch the Google feed and you'll rarely ever see or notice a stutter here and there. Another perk is that this phone is optimized for Google Fi, and I can't stress enough how much I love this service. Those of you that are looking for a good prepaid plan that's also an international lifesaver, the Google Pixels are the best phones for this, and true, you can get Google Fi on other smartphones, but those of you that are looking for a device that's well optimized to jump between networks like US Cellular, Sprint, and T-Mobile, you'll actually need a Pixel, and this is the cheapest way to get into that. And then even better is the fact that the Pixel 3a clings to the network well, and phone calls sound good. And then another pleasant surprise is that this phone has really good endurance. I mean, the Pixel 3 was not great when it came to battery life, but the advantage of the 600 series Snapdragon is that it's more power efficient. I've been able to get through the day just fine, and I can't say that I've gone beyond the day, but at least I haven't had to deal with any battery anxiety, which is great. But now let's jump into the reason why you're here, why these phones are called Pixels. It's mainly because of their cameras. But I'm going to start this by telling you that I still find what we have here to be impossible. Because true, the sensor is important, but also important is the ISP, which is processor dependent, and the Snapdragon 670 doesn't have a great one, which means that Google was able to figure out how to get great photos from a sensor and software. The Pixel 3a does not disappoint. Photos are just as you'd expect from a Google Pixel, with fantastic color, saturation, and contrast, and detail is fabulous all around. I was expecting the Pixel 3a to just kneel when it came to low light performance, but no, it works just like the more expensive brother, and you do have night sight here to boost highlights even more. I'm gonna go quiet for a bit just to let you see some more samples because they're really fantastic. Now, portrait photos are good, but I do notice that performance is not as good as on the Pixel 3. Hair is sometimes not well captured, or if you were wearing headphones, the photo is just going to be a mess, things that the Pixel 3 did not have to deal with. You know, the sad part is the audio capability of this phone. Sadly, as I expected, video is not great, following on the steps of the Pixel 3. Yes, you can record 4K video at 30 on this phone, but the audio is just as bad as on its more expensive brother. Stabilization is okay, and the selfie video is also good, though again, not a device that will blow your mind away. And then last but not least, even if the samples are all fabulous, I think it's time for Google to make peace with the fact that they need to jump on more camera sensors. You need the versatility of other lenses, and sadly, the Pixel 3 is not going to help you, and nor will the Pixel 3a. To conclude, let's go back to the initial premise. Why is this almost everything you need? I mean, why is it not everything? What's missing for this to be the perfect phone? I mean, we have a great camera, good battery life, pure Google software that includes updates, a good experience consuming content, and decent enough hardware. What more could you want, right? Well, it's actually two things. The first is that most people don't really buy phones for less than a year, and I have yet to meet a mid-ranger that ages well. I'm sure Google will support this phone for its promised time, but there's a huge question mark over how well the phone will perform over time, as even the Pixel 3 is struggling. And then the second is really the looks. I mean, Samsung has the market flooded with good-looking mid-rangers, and the same goes for Oppo and other Chinese brands. I mean, Google, I get it that you're a software company, but you're not selling software here. You're selling a phone, and I think that it's time for you to adopt a more 2019 sex appeal design. If you're okay with a forgettable design, I mean, for $399, this is probably the best phone you could get. It's got the experience, it's got the camera, it pushes all the buttons that guarantee a great experience, which makes me wonder why you would even consider paying more for anything else. Let us know what you think about the Pixel 3a in the comments down below, and while you're at it, follow us on social media as our extended coverage happens on Instagram. Also subscribe to our channels English and Spanish for more content like this one. You can also follow me on Instagram and Twitter for weird running pics and stuff. Please give this video a thumbs up if you like what you saw. I'm Jaime Rivera, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one.